Today, December the 19th, is an important day for Taiwan. My name is Kok Chen, and I'll be kickstarting this session. On this day, we're going to highlight our taxation case through the lens of renowned academics, authors, and thinkers from the global community. We're going to expand on issues such as human rights, the non-violence approach, the shared ethos of different religions, and the importance of transitional justice. Play video one.
Brief overview of the Tai Chi-men case. Shortly after Taiwan's first presidential election in 1996, the government initiated a crackdown on religious groups with the intention to penalize those supporting dissenting opinions within religious communities. In the midst of this turmoil, Tai Chi-men, a neutral and apolitical group, became embroiled in the situation. At that time, the prosecutors in Kaohsiung and Hsinchu received false accusations, yet upon investigation, no illegal activities were found, leading to the cases being closed. However, prosecutor Ho Kwon-jen deployed a large number of law enforcement officers against due process, raided Tai Chi-men with the media, and froze the accounts of its leader. Despite the account only holding over 610,000 new Taiwan dollars, reports claimed Tai Chi-men had committed fraud, amounting to 3.1 billion new Taiwan dollars, alleging tax evasion. Prosecutor Ho Kwon-jen detained the Tai Chi-men Zhang Menren and his wife for nearly 4 months, without finding any unlawful behavior. He coerced tax official Shi Yuxing to give false testimony, incorporating the fabricated statements into the indictment against Tai Chi-men in 1997. However, the prosecutor's charges contained logical inconsistencies, accusing both embezzlement and tax evasion for the same amount concurrently in the indictment. The monetary gifts that the Dizzy give to their shifu, following the tradition to show respect to their shifu, were considered tax-exempt income under Income Tax Act and did not require taxation. However, the National Taxation Bureau penalized Tai Chi-men for 6 years under the guise of a cram school. Nevertheless, the Ministry of Education explicitly stated that Tai Chi-men was not a cram school. Moreover, according to regulations by the Ministry of Finance, Qigong did not fall under the scope of business tax, and government agencies strictly prohibited Qigong groups from establishing cram schools, thus making it impossible for Tai Chi-men to be categorized as such.
We still want to emphasize that Tai Chi-men is absolutely not a cram school. Tai Chi-men has made contributions in national sports, family cohesion, and education, and we affirm that.
The former Central Area National Taxation Bureau Director Yang Chunghua and Taipei National Taxation Bureau Director Chong Xingford were present at a public hearing and explicitly knew that Tai Chi-men was not a cram school. Despite this, they unlawfully issued tax bills under the guise of a cram school. In 2007, after 3 trials at the Supreme Court, Tai Chi-men was confirmed innocent of fraud and tax evasion. The Tai Chi-men Shifu and Dizzy received state compensation for wrongful imprisonment. Despite winning several administrative trials regarding the tax case, out of the 6 tax bills based on the same facts, 5 were resolved lawfully. However, the National Taxation Bureau persisted in enforcing the erroneous tax bill for the year 1992, refusing to revoke it, even going so far as to auction off Tai Chi-men's planned site for self-cultivation illegally, reclaiming it as government property, and distributing performance bonuses in 2020. This case drew international attention, with international organizations repeatedly reporting to the United Nations, condemning Taiwan's government for its unfair treatment of Tai Chi-men. Over the years, the government's unjust actions and defamation against Tai Chi-men have subjected many Taiwanese people to physical and mental persecution. The international community continues to monitor this case. Freedom and human rights are core values of democratic nations. The government should promptly resolve the Tai Chi-men human rights persecution case to further Taiwan's progress as a more prosperous and advanced model of Asian democracy.
In the years leading to 1996, there is no freedom of religions or belief. It is a year of political purges against religious and belief groups. The crackdown on religious bodies, movements, and political affiliations is so widespread that in 2024 today, we're still reeling in from the shock, the impact it has created. Freedom of religion or beliefs is still limited today. There is a behavior and mindset issue. I'm afraid that we are nowhere close to an acceptable concept of human rights in the authoritarian administrative rule of the tax law. Today, I would like to start the session by revisiting transitional justice. What is transitional justice? Transitional justice is a concept that emphasizes the need to confront historical errors and pursue the realization of social truth. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Nuremberg trials, and the Tokyo trials are all connected with transitional justice. The post-Cold War period does exhibit similar traits as well. Transitional justice is based on the theory of social contract, emphasizing the dignity of humanity, and the protection of human rights, and the realization of the ideal of the rule of the law. Taiwan's democratic transformation of the society in transition took 3 phases. The pre-1987 martial law, the 1998 post-martial law to 2016, and from 2016 onwards, the opposition Democratic Progressive Party won with 68 seats. During the transitional period, the old habits, ideas, behaviors of the old bureaucrats still remain. One of the great tests for new democracy was to accommodate religious minorities. Both South Korea and Taiwan restricted the activities of religious and spiritual movements during their transition to democracy, with consequences still at work today, as evidenced by our Taijimen case. President Tai deserves credit for the judicial reform she has promoted in her second election in 2016. However, her reform is focused on criminal law, and it does not extend to the authoritarian administration of the tax law, which also violates human rights to a great extent. Our first scholar, Carolina, shares a similar sentiment. Carolina Maria Kotkowski is the assistant professor in the Center of Comparative Studies of Civilizations. She's a graduate of pedagogics, ethnology, and philosophy, and has a PhD candidate in sociology. She defended her doctoral thesis on Polish theosophy with honors in the Institute of Philosophy of the Jagiellonian University. In her interdisciplinary research, she concentrates on the margins of culture, alternative currents, and controversial ideas, especially those of esoteric and religious character. Carolina highlights that the most obvious examples of violence based on religion are those that are arising from conflicts between different faiths or are the result of various prejudices. And she notes that it's much less common, but often equal, but more harmful to religion are the acts of institutional or political violence. Let's take a look.
On December 19th, 2022, Dr. Hong Tao-Tse, the Grandmaster Shifu of the Taijimen, proclaimed December 19th as the International Day Against Judicial Persecution by State Power. Taijimen is a spiritual group devoted to Qigong, practicing martial arts and self-cultivation. This day is a follow-up to the initiative of the United Nations from 2019, when August 22nd was designated as the International Day commemorating the victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief. This day of observance was established by the UN General Assembly in 2019 in response to the increase in violence against individuals and groups because of their faith or belief. This day aims to raise awareness among the international community about the need to combat religiously motivated violence, but also to promote tolerance and the protection of human rights. This is done in several ways, including commemorating the victims of violence, raising awareness of the problem, encouraging actions to counter violence at the local, regional, and international levels, and promoting dialogue between different religions and worldviews, thus eliminating various types of prejudices that can lead to violence. The most obvious examples of violence based on religion are those that arise from conflicts between different faiths or are the result of various prejudices. Much less common but often equally or more harmful to religions are acts of institutional or political violence. The problem is not represented by beliefs that are controversial in the eye of another group, although such arguments are also used instrumentally, but, for example, by ideological incompatibility or lack of support for the ruling party. Why was December 19 proclaimed the International Day Against Judicial Persecution by State Power? Because it is a very sad anniversary. In 1996, in Taiwan, a political purge against religious groups took place. One of the groups attacked was Taijimen. Media slander, before the trial even began, victimized the members and their families. On this day, 1996, the life of Taiji Men took a very bad turn. After initiating an investigation against Taiji Men based on unfounded report in November 1996, the findings of the prosecutor office revealed no illegal activities or victims, leading to the case's closure at the time. Despite this, on December 19th, prosecutor Ho Kwan-jen mobilized hundreds of armed police officers to raid all branches of Taiji Men Qigong Academy, along with the private homes of several Taiji Men Dizi, meaning disciples. The Grand Master of Taiji Men, Dr. Hong, his wife, and two Dizi were then unlawfully detained for months. While the physical violence was obvious in this case, there have been other types of violence that were less blunted but went on for years. The case of Taiji Men is extreme in this respect because the continuation of violent actions based on unfairly imposed and enforced taxes continues to this very day. It has been 28 years since 1996, and the violence in various forms has not abated. The Taiwanese government has not yet conducted a thorough review to establish accountability for past actions, allowing the ongoing persecution of certain groups, including Taiji Men, to continue and making it impossible for them to obtain justice. It is hard to believe that after so many years of democratic rule, spiritual movements in Taiwan may still face significant hurdles due to bureaucratic harassment, highlighting a systemic issue that hinders their freedom of religion or belief. This ongoing problem harms Taiwan's reputation when it comes to the protecting of the people's right to freedom of religion or belief, which is a fundamental responsibility for all countries. It is important for the Taiwanese government to acknowledge this issue, take action to address the root causes, and make real efforts to correct the injustice faced by the affected communities. Since 1999, Dr. Hong is leading an initiative of the World Love and Peace Cultural Goodwill Group, which has traveled to more than 100 countries around the world, promoting a culture centered on the principles of love and peace, with a focus on fostering global understanding and harmony. As a part of this mission, Taiji Men has organized special ceremonies featuring the Bell of World Peace and Love, where leaders from diverse nations or fields are invited to participate. Even in the face of violence in their own country, the Dizi, disciples of Taiji Men, respond to this violation of their basic human rights solely through peaceful means. Instead of allowing this culture rooted in conscience and peace to flourish and spread, Taiwanese bureaucracy hinders their positive initiatives, ultimately harming not only such groups, but also itself. It is no doubt that this issue needs to be addressed, and far too much time has already passed without the necessary changes being made. Thank you.
Carolina has highlighted something that's really important about political violence. Next up is Marco, who is the director in charge of Bitter Winter. Marco Rispenti is an Italian professional journalist, a member of the International Federation of Journalists, an essayist, a translator, and a lecturer. He has contributed and contributes to several journals and magazines, both in print and online, both in Italy and globally. He's also the author of books and chapters in books, and he has translated and or edited works by, amongst others, Edmund Burke, Charles Dickens, T.S. Eliot, Russell Kirk, J.J.R. Tolkien, Regine Penault, and Gustave Thibon. Here, Marcus talks about the sense of evil that we all get with the state. The state is supposed to perform its duty for the benefit of the people, and instead does the contrary. Derives from the fact that one of the main features of organized political and judicial community that we call the state is to grant justice to citizens, particularly in a democracy. In this instance, he also highlighted and reasoned that the democracies can be instrumental to injustice. Let's welcome Marco.
Despite being a fairly recent Western institution, virtually all countries of the world are politically and juridically organized in the institutional form that we today call the state. that emerged from a long process of increasing concentration of political power from the early modern period of European history to the so-called Age of Revolutions in the 19th century. That development had important junctions in the Hundred Years' War in the 14th and 15th centuries, the 30 Years' War in the 17th century, and the French Revolution at the end of the 18th century, whose military and political events shaped the basic characteristic of a state, sovereignty. This is the unquestionable rule that authorities exert within a given territory based on their exclusive power of taxing people, their ultimate administration of justice, and their monopolistic right to the use of force. Of course, in a democracy, representative institutions work as a balance, but history teaches that elections too have not been enough to control power. In some cases, dictatorships and totalitarianisms came in after the free vote of citizens. It is precisely for this reason that after two catastrophic world wars in the 20th century, the time came to bind the omnipotence of the state within some sort of international structure that could function as a moderator. Many multinational and international organizations rose to perform this decisive task, and the United Nations is the most universal and loaded with expectations. Whether the United Nations succeeds or not in this task, it was born out of the conviction that while it can serve the public good with immense energy, the state can also easily turn against people and cause giant damages. This is evident when a state assaults its neighbors and wages war against other countries. But it is even more blatant a case when a state harasses its own people. A state persecuting the people it should protect is, in fact, something we always find hard to believe, even if we have seen it happening so many times. There is something particularly disturbing in it. It is like a mother tormenting its own children, a father turning its back against his heirs, or a school that, instead of instructing, educating, and uplifting pupils for a better future, pester and exasperate them, creating a continuous nightmare. Probably the sense of special evil that we all get in the case of the state, which is supposed to perform its duty for the benefit of the people and instead does the contrary, derives from the fact that one of the main features of the organized political and juridical community that we call the state is to grant justice to its citizens, particularly in a democracy. What other reason should one, in fact, have for living in a society regulated by a state, if not the fact that a superior authority can secure justice for all in an equal way and serve the common good far better than individuals can do if left to their own devices? But unfortunately, even democracies can do the opposite, being instrumental to injustice. Taijimen is a manpai similar to a school of Qigong, martial arts, and self-cultivation in Taiwan. Since 1996, Taijimen endures an absurd case of false accusations, in particular of tax evasion. The leaders and several of its members experienced detentions. The movement's property was nationalized, and the basic right to freedom of religion or belief of its adherents was denied. All levels of Taiwanese justice have repeatedly cleared Taijimen from all charges, yet the movement is still burdened by the consequences of this fabricated lie. In the meantime, Taijimen has not renounced to its vocation of building a better world for all through peace and mutual understanding. It is precisely for this reason that the movement has proposed an international day against judicial persecution by state power on December the 19th. This is quite important. Taijimen is in fact convinced that no one should suffer what the movement itself has suffered for more than a quarter of a century. It is convinced that the state has no power to harass its own citizens. It is convinced that democracy should be synonym of justice. I am convinced as well, and I hope the United Nations will soon welcome Taijimen's proposal and preside over its implantation.
Marcus's sentiments are synonymous with what we experience today in the world. The conflicts and everything that the state has put upon its citizens are now becoming something of a reality, and it will impact the future generations. Daniela Botoleventa writes for the Peter Winter magazine. In her conversation, Daniela brings out Father Peter Gonsalves' book, where there are references to Mahatma Gandhi. He had a great interest in Christianity, judging from his quotes. Pope Francis' message for the World Day of Peace in 2017 also echoes Mahatma's strategy of Satyagraha. This non-violence action and the Christianity peaceful action is similar to Taijimen's approach to peace and love. Conscience and justice that is critical to Taijimen's taxation case. Let's have a look at what Daniela has to say.
In 2015, an Indian Salesian Catholic priest, Father Peter Gonsalves, published a curious book in which he tried to compile a complete list of the implicit or explicit references to Mahatma Gandhi in documents of Catholic popes from Pius XII to the current Pope Francis. They are indeed numerous. But even more numerous are Gandhi's references to Christianity and to Catholic saints and historical characters. There is no doubt that Gandhi was a pious Hindu and was never tempted to convert to any different religion, yet he had a great interest and deep respect for Christianity. In one of the Catholic documents mentioning Gandhi, Pope Francis' message for the World Day of Peace 2017, the similarity between the Mahatma's strategy of Satyagraha, or non-violent action, and the Christian method of peaceful action epitomized by figures such as Mother Teresa is presented through two key features. These are important to avoid easy misunderstandings. They also have a universal value and can be applied to the Taijimen case and the fight of Taijimen disciples for peace, love, conscience, and justice. First, Pope Francis' message underlines that the non-violent method excludes private vendetta or retaliation, but does not deny the need for justice. Those who have committed crimes should receive a just punishment, which is not vengeance, but retributive justice. Mother Teresa was described by those who met her as a gentle and sweet woman, yet Pope Francis reminds us that her voice trembled when she asked that criminals who abused the poor and the defenseless be held accountable for their crimes. Non-violence, Pope Francis wrote in the message, is sometimes taken to mean surrender, lack of involvement and passivity, but this is not the case. Here is a first lesson for the Taijimen case. Taijimen Disi are admired throughout the world for their non-violence and their message of peace and love. Yet, there is no peace without justice. Being peaceful citizens and even operating according to Gandhi's principle of Satyagraha does not mean that the injustice should be ignored and those who have violated human rights should not be punished. When he lived in South Africa, Gandhi was a successful lawyer in Durban. He had already preached non-violence, but as a lawyer he asked for exemplary punishment of those who had violated human rights. Interestingly, he also represented Chinese immigrants workers whose human and labor rights were often denied. He asked that not only injustice should be rectified, but those who had committed them should receive a just punishment. Prosecutor Hu Quanzhen and others who violated the human rights of Taiji men have not been punished, they have even been promoted. It is perfectly consistent with the principle of non-violence to call for their punishment and for a public acknowledgement that what they did was criminally wrong, caused an enormous amount of unnecessary suffering. A second principle Pope Francis emphasizes in his 2017 message, and shares with Gandhi's, is that women and men of peace, when they suffer injustice, not only do not react with violence and protest according to the peaceful method of the Mahatma called Satyagraha, they also do not let injustice and persecution distract them from their main task. It is announcing peace and love to the world. This is what their opponents would like, that they would devote all their energies to resist persecution and would choose their most important activity, spreading their message internationally. The method of Satyagraha also implies the effort, while resisting persecution non-violently, to steadfastly continue the good work of announcing truth and peace to the world. This again applies to you, Taiji Mendisi. While you resist harassment and the consequences of unjust tax bills non-violently, you refuse to be distracted by the persecution. Every year and every day, you continue to travel throughout the world announcing peace, love and conscience. Gandhi will be proud of you. You are the new warriors of peace. As women and men of justice, we call for the immediate solution of the Taiji Men case. As women and men of peace, we salute the extraordinary action of the Dizzy and their chief, Dr. Hong, in promoting peace, love and conscience. As friends of human rights, today we are all Dizzy.
It's interesting to see Daniela and Marco having different perspectives. From the point of Daniela, she has made a good point about the world's approach through the lens of Pope Francis and also Mahatma Gandhi, echoing the strategy of Satyagraha, which means in peace, and also the strategy of understanding how this is related to the Taiji Men's taxation case. The next speaker is also from the magazine Bitter Winter, and Massimo is the editor-in-chief at Bitter Winter. Massimo Introvigni is an Italian sociologist of religion, and he's the founder and managing director of the Center for Studies on New Religions, an international network of scholars who study new religious movements. Massimo is the author of some 70 books and more than 100 articles in the field of sociology or religion. He was the main author of the Encyclopedia of Religions in Italy. In the note that we're going to see later, Massimo says that the transitional justice is mandatory for democratic states, implying a full acknowledgement and rectification of past abuses and requires the cooperation of civil society.
December 19 is the date Taiji Men has proposed for an International Day Against Judicial Persecution by State Power. The words transitional justice are not included in the title of the new International Day. However, the idea of transitional justice is clearly included in the proposal. In fact, only transitional justice can rectify the consequences of past judicial persecution by state power and make sure human rights violations will not happen again. In this important day, I would like to emphasize three key points, which also reflect on the Taijimen case in Taiwan. First, transitional justice is mandatory for democratic states. It is not an optional. It is not something states may decide to implement or not to implement according to their political needs. States that do not abide by the transitional justice principles are not democratic and rightly receives international blame. Scholars came to this conclusion based on a significant number of decisions and documents from the United Nations Human Rights Council, the European Court of Human Rights, and the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. Taiwan is not a member state of these bodies. However, all are based on the principles of the two United Nations Human Rights Covenants. Taiwan has incorporated the two covenants into its domestic law in 2009. Thus, it freely promised to be bound by them. According to the majority interpretation of international law scholars, this also meant that Taiwan implicitly promised to implement a fair and comprehensive international transitional justice. This is now mandatory, not optional for Taiwan. And fair and comprehensive means that Taiwan cannot limit its transitional justice to violations committed before a certain date. All should be addressed, including those connected with the 1996 political crackdown against several spiritual groups, which also affected Taijimen. Second, the four principles of transitional justice are connected with each other. The term transitional justice was coined by scholars after the fall of the Soviet Union and several Latin American dictatorships in the late 1980s and early 1990s. However, principles of transitional justice, without calling them with this name, were established post-World War II with the Nuremberg and Tokyo trials of Nazi and Japanese leaders for human rights violations and crimes against humanity. Transitional justice aims to ensure peace, stability, and democracy when moving from a non-democratic regime by addressing past evils. Many international decisions mention the four principles listed by the Inter-American Court of Human Rights in 1988 in the case Velázquez-Rodriguez versus Honduras. They are preventing further human rights violations, investigating past crimes, punishing offenders, and compensating victims. The Inter-American Court also explained that the order in which it listed the principles was not coincidental, and that the four are strictly connected. One cannot be implemented without all the others. The court listed as first the aim of preventing further violations of human rights. This means, first, that the most important aim of transitional justice is to guarantee democracy now and in the future. Crying about past abuses without addressing present wrongdoings is hypocritical. Second, however, it is impossible to avoid the continuation of the abuses without clearly denouncing those of the past, punishing those responsible, and indemnifying the victims. Taiwan is unfortunately not the only example where this has not happened, but it is a quite spectacular one. In the case of Taijimen, there has not been a clear and public acknowledgement that the injustice was perpetrated through the fabricated case. Those responsible have not been punished. On the contrary, the main perpetrator, Prosecutor Ho Kwang-yen, has been promoted to higher office, and there has been no indemnification of Taijimen. On the contrary, its sacred land has been nationalized based on a tax bill several authorities admitted was false, unfair, and fabricated. Opportunities to rectify this situation have not been used, as it happened recently with the unjust decision of the Taichung Hague Administrative Court rendered on August 2nd, 2024. The Taijimen case offers additional evidence of the principles set forth by international law about transitional justice. If injustices of the past are not rectified, there will be no justice in the present either. The third key point is that transitional justice is not a task entrusted to governments and courts of law only. Their role is necessary, and they should be held accountable if they fail in their task. However, it is increasingly recognized that transitional justice is a joint effort where civil society also plays a decisive role. Dr. Hong Daozi, the Shifu Grand Master of Taijimen, and his Ditzi, or disciples, have continued for 28 years to affirm and protect their innocence and their human rights, and to call for transitional justice. Admirably, they did not ask for justice for themselves only. They identified a broader problem of transitional justice in Taiwan, became recognized experts and professionals on the issue, and proposed solutions that will benefit many other groups and Taiwanese society as a whole. More, they gathered an international community of scholars and human rights activists who both support Taijimen and through webinars and events advance the global cause of human rights and transitional justice. For this, proclaiming an international day against judicial persecution by state power is a sign of rightful protest, but it is also a sign of hope. Thank you, and have a wonderful and fruitful day.
Massimo is a strong supporter of Taijimen, and he has been gathering all the information from various academics and have a good understanding of how transitional justice is impacting on the future of Taiwan. As a strong supporter of Taijimen, he knows exactly what we are doing, and today, Taijimen is still an ancient manpai of Qigong, martial arts, and self-cultivation. According to the traditional etiquette and customs, disciples or Dichi shows respect to their master through gifting. Dr. Hong Daozi established Taijimen Qigong Academy in 1966, and over the last 55 years, he and his disciples tirelessly work together and carry forward the essence of traditional Chinese culture and promote love, peace, and culture of conscience international. Since inception, they have been never accused of tax evasion, except for the 6 years from 1991 to 1996, for which the National Taxation Bureau issued illegal tax bills. And the result has been quite alarming and shocking. Let's have a look at what is going to happen in this movie.
I remember Shifu liked that place a lot. It had gorgeous views. We would sit there with Shifu and talk about how we would use the place for our future Qigong practice.
Shimu was very considerate and said, if we get our villa ready, when overseas deeds come back, instead of finding hotels to stay, they will be able to stay in this villa.
I can imagine that if this place had been developed according to Shifu's plan, it would have been a wonderful place.
Speaking about this, my heart aches. It really aches. Because it's ruined like this. Now we have no way to save this place anymore.
Who can restore our 25 wasted years? Who can restore this place for us?
When I take a closer look, I found many meditation mats, and I felt so upset. And how would Shifu feel if he sees this? He has put his heart and soul into this place.
During the first criminal trial, Judge Zhao Zirong asked Shifu to state his opinion. With tears in his eyes, Shifu said that as contemporary Zhangmenren of Taijimen, he would safeguard Taijimen and his Dizi with his life and everything. Regrettably, the NCB simply believed that the case involved tax evasion based on the prosecutor's indictment and imposed a restriction in 1997, preventing Taijimen from disposing the villa. At the time, the validity of the tax bills had not been verified and the criminal decision had not been issued. How could they issue the tax bills? How could they impose double restrictions on the property? That was illegal.
At the beginning of the criminal case, the prosecutor seized all the assets of Zhang Menren and his wife, including a few $1,000s in his bank account, leaving him with no money. The tax bureau, based on the prosecutor's indictment, issued sky-high tax bills without investigating the matter. Zhang Menren did not have any money left to provide as collateral for the tax bills. Then an enforcement order would be carried out and his property could be sold. However, the tax bills have been invalid from the beginning and should not have been issued. For over 23 years, Zhang Menren and his wife were unable to use this place. This property had been seized for such a long time, but Zhang Menren still had to pay the property taxes. The government had seized the property for over 23 years, and now this house is dilapidated and lies in ruins.
According to the current regulations, you cannot reapply for a construction permit. It's impossible to demolish and rebuild the house. If you want to renovate, it will cost more than to rebuild.
In the next part, I'd like to welcome In. We'll now continue the conversation with 5 other Taijimen disciples.
Thank you, Casey. Hi, everyone. My name is In, and I'm honored to be your host for this session. The video we just watched sets the stage for the important discussions ahead. The Taijimen case is not only a story of profound challenges, but also a testament to courage, resilience, and the enduring pursuit of justice. To begin our session, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Joanna Liu, a 10-year-old elementary school student and a Taijimen Dizi. Joanna will share her perspective on the injustices faced by Taijimen over the past 28 years, highlighting issues of judicial and tax abuse. Through her own experiences and insights, Joanna emphasizes the importance of conscience, fairness, and justice in both personal and governmental actions. Her story is a call for reform and fairness, advocating for a brighter, more equitable future for all. Let's welcome Joanna.
Hello, I am Joanna, a Taijimen Dizi. I am 10 years old. I am very happy to participate in International Day of Human Rights Against State Abuse of Justice and Tax Laws. I am very angry that the Taijimen has not been redressed for 28 years. My mother and father told me that the prosecutor had falsely accused us without an investigation being an elementary school, broke into my brothers and sisters' homes, destroyed our peace and harmony, met my beloved Shifu and Shimu in a prison, and said that we were keeping little ghosts. Before giving us a tax bill, the National Taxation Bureau failed to learn the whole truth. Although the Supreme Court had already ruled on July 13, 2007, that Taijimen carried out no crimes, no tax, and no violations of the taxation inspection law. Why did the Taxation Bureau not only overlook to cancel the illegal tax bill, but also illegally auction of our land in Miali that Shifu has planned of DV to parties Qigong, and even took into nation ownership? I am really unhappy with such a nation because I believe it should be able to protect its citizens and not bully them. I think principals, directors, and teachers have to protect students. If they do not protect students, but even hurt and bully them instead, we will be very sad, angry, and disappointed with them. If a student has wronged me, I would hope that the teacher would listen to the explanation of both sides and then make a fair and with judgment and punishment, instead of yelling over there, or defending some students in a big way, and punish them without distinction between the right and the wrong. I still feel sad and upset about something that happened to me in second grade. I succeeded in school, liked to help teachers and classmates, and was a teacher's little helper. As a result, a classmate who fell in school was jealous of me. His deep was very close to mine. When the test paper was handed out, he laughed to the teacher and claimed that I had taken his paper away from him and had not intentionally returned it. The teachers were very busy at the time, so he scolded me strongly, punished me for being unable to leave the classroom, and told me to take out his exam paper without asking me the truth. I tried to leave out by raising my hand, but the teacher rejected me. Fortunately, the student who stood next to me told the teacher that he didn't see me taking the student's exam paper and that it was enrolled on the student's desk, in which his name was written. The teacher even said sorry to me after warning the student who had made the unfunny claim and stopped him from leaving the classroom. That even shared what my Shifu had told me. which is that I should have a conscience and stop from lying and bullying people. You have to stand up and hold your innocence when someone wrongs you. You have to be brave and act justly when you witness someone else being hurt. Adults of teachers should handle problems fairly and not be afraid to say sorry for mistakes out of a desire to keep the good name. In my mind, teacher are the judge and the prosecutor is the student who made the complaint. In order to stop falsely accusing the good person and to win the trust to the students, teachers should find out the truth and handle the issue fairly when a student brings up an issue. As a result, the judge should be able to make a fair and legal decision before he is a good official, and the prosecutor should not bully good people as well. Why hasn't the state publicly said sorry to Taiwan? Why hasn't it given us back the land in Mali? I grew up in Taiwan, which is like my home, since I was a child. I have been going with my father, mother, brother, and sisters to participate in legal tax reform activities. No matter if it was a parade, a sign raising event, in the wind, in the rain, or in the sun, even though it was hard, my family would always go together. In the past, I didn't understand why I have to participate, but now I do. The goal of tax reform is to train the country immigration, illegal, and tax status to stop officials from abusing their power and abusing the law to bully the people, and to remind the officials that they should be conscious in that they do, and that they shouldn't be attracted by the money and to think to bully the people, so that the country will be stronger and the people will be able to have a better life. Taiwan is an ancient Qigong martial arts academy, a place full of joyful feelings. I protect Qigong, improve my body health, and become healthier, more focused in class, and more successful in my studies. Shifu also taught us to change our temper, which is very important, because if we don't cleanse our mind, we will be angry all the time, and we will go from being a little angel to being a little devil. Shifu also taught us to have a conscience, and Taijiman has traveled to more than 100 countries to spread love and peace. That year, I went to the United States on a goodwill control visit with my Shifu and my brothers and sisters, and at every shower I have a joyful heart and a big smile, hoping to spread the mystery of goodness, so that we can all be the conscientious and do good together to make the world a safer and happier place. Taiwan is really a very, very good place. I hope that the Nation Station Bureau will immediately escape the mistake and revoke the illegal tax bill, and that the country will return the land in Mali to us, so that we can practice Qigong, practice well, and do more good deeds that there are meaningful to the country, society, and the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for your inspiring sharing. Your words remind us of the importance of standing up for justice and fairness, no matter how young we are. Our next speaker is Julia Wu, a customer service officer at a multinational chemical company and a Taijimen Dizi. In Julia's narrative, Julia shares how her personal struggles living with a congenital hearing impairment and scars from a childhood accident led to self-doubt, but she found strength and resolution through Taijimen. Taijimen not only improved her confidence and well-being, but also inspire her family and friends. Julia also highlights the global mission of Taijimen, which has brought message of love and peace to the world. Please join me in welcoming Julia Wu.
Hello, host and audience. Good day to everyone. My name is Julia, a Taijimen Dizi. I currently work at a multinational chemical company. I was born with congenital microtia in my right ear, leaving me unable to hear on that side. When I was a little over 1 year old and I learned to walk, I accidentally knocked over a container of boiling Chinese medicine, which left a large scar on my right arm. These physical conditions have sometimes made me feel insecure when interacting with classmates and colleagues. Even when I got married and had children, I carried significant fear, worrying that my children might inherit unbearable genes. During the seasonal changes, I often suffer from allergies and sneezing. In addition to pollen allergies, my skin is also highly sensitive. For example, mosquito bites take over 2 weeks to heal. This combination of physical and emotional health challenges has greatly impacted my life. 8 years ago, my mother and I planned a trip abroad together. Among the group of travelers, there was a family of 4 whose energy and vitality stand out. Their harmonious interactions, kind words, and the mutual care created a raised sense of peace that deeply impressed me. During our conversations, I shared with them that I have 2 boys. On one occasion, while out for a walk, my younger son accidentally fell and broke his baby tooth, which deeply saddened me. I hope for my children to grow up healthy and safe, so I wanted them to learn Taekwondo, which would not only help with self-defense, but also nurture their character. The mother in the family suggested that I can practice Qigong, saying it could not only strengthen the body, but also teach meditation and mindfulness. I was curious about how children as young as 4 or 5 years old could practice Qigong. This curiosity prompted me to visit Taijimen Academy after returning home. Within a month, I attended a few of brothers and sisters sharing sessions, which helped me realize that everyone's life is full of challenges and hidden struggles. Yes, they managed to overcome their difficulties one by one, earning my admiration. They were ordinary people like me. Yes, they appeared so resilient and kind-hearted. This experience brought me out of maintenance routine of working, coming home and taking care of my children. My kids also enjoy going to the academy, which gave me a great place to visit after work. As a result, I applied to join Taijimen and started practicing. I'm deeply grateful to Shifu for accepting me as a Dizi. It's now have been 8 years and 5 months since I began practicing, and 3 generations of my family, 6 people in total, practicing together. Even my neighbors, seeing my improved complexion and energy, have joined as well. During the process of practicing, Shifu not only taught us Qigong to improve our physical and mental health, but also imparted much wisdom on yin and yang, which help us apply it in our daily lives to overcome difficulties. During the most severe 3 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, Shifu provided daily online teachings to calm the hearts of Dizi, guiding us not to be nervous, anxious, or afraid. After the pandemic ended in 2022, Shifu led Taijimen Dizi to continue traveling to various countries, spreading the message of love and peace worldwide. To date, we have visited 113 countries. The longer I stay in Taijimen, the more I'm moved by Shifu and the brothers and sisters. Promoting love and peace is no easy task, especially in such an unstable world. Carrying the bell of world peace and love, we have visited 113 countries. Each Dizi not only funds their own travel, but also takes on multiple roles, fully utilizing their potential to sow the seeds of love and peace around the globe. I firmly believe that good-hearted people dislike war and do not want to witness the destruction it brings, tearing apart families, livelihoods, and requiring enormous efforts and resources for future rebuilding. In 1999, Shifu stated in the Declaration of World Peace and Love, "May the world be free from sorrow, fear, war, and suffering, and become a harmonious place. We sincerely hope that more friends of different beliefs, races, and backgrounds, regardless of wealth, status, gender, or age, can possess a pure, kind, and happy heart of peace. Through their actions, they can personally practice respect and care for their families, humanity, nations, and the earth ecosystems." The Taijimen Qigong Academy is an ancient Qigong menpai of martial arts, and Qigong that has never had tax issues. However, in 1996, prosecutor Hou Kuanren maliciously mischaracterized Taijimen as a crime school, fabricating a criminal case and collaborating with tax authorities to issue false tax bills, equivalent to the confiscation of all property. The tax authorities misinterpreted the volunteers' offerings of Dizi, knowing as respect gifts to Shifu, as tuition fees for a cram school, and subsequently issued tax bills. They also concealed critical investigation documents, verifying the nature of the respect gifts, fabricating and submitting false inquiry lists. This led to suspicions of documents forgery and misled Taichung High Administrative Court and the Supreme Administrative Court into making wrongful judgments on the 1992 tax case of the Taijimen. The criminal case against Taijimen was resolved on July 13, 2007, with a complete acquittal, and the state compensated for wrongful detention. In 2018, the Supreme Administrative Courts clarified that Taijimen is an academy of martial arts and Qigong, not a cram school. Both the National Taxation Bureau and the others agency admitted in 2012 and 2013 that Taijimen is not a cram school, and that no martial arts organization are treated as such for NTB corrected the illegally issued tax bills for the years 1991 and 1993 to 1996 to zero. However, the 1992 tax year faced a split judgment and was improperly taxed as if Taijimen were a cram school. Despite the clear and the evidence in illegality of this decision, tax authorities, administrative enforcement agencies, and administrative courts turned a blind eye, deliberate perpetuating the error. The National Taxation Bureau, aware of the unlawful and erroneous tax bill, instructed the administrative enforcement agency to continue enforcement actions, including seizing and auctioning the land intended for Taijimen's practice sites and forcibly transforming it into state ownership. This blatant violation of justice remains a glaring issue, undermining the principles of fairness and the rule of law. A tax case dragging on for over 28 years constitutes a severe violation of human rights. How can the government justify this is to people? According to Article 40 of the Tax Collection Act, the National Taxation Bureau has the obligation to request a suspension of execution and withdraw enforcement. The Bureau's deliberate infringement on property rights clearly demonstrates subjective malice and qualifies for state compassion under Article 2, Paragraph 2 of the State Compassion Law. Once again, it is important to emphasize that Taijimen Shifu and Dizi have upheld the spirit of one world, one family for many years, putting it into practice. Beyond wish for world peace, they aim to awaken the conscience of humanity by using love to eliminate prejudice and remove barriers, and by demonstrating courage to rectify injustice and correct mistakes. Taijimen Shifu and Dizi had steadfastly pursued truth and justice. Their 28-year-long fight has illuminated the path for tax and legal reform in Taiwan, inspiring experts and scholars to examine deficiencies in taxation, tax laws, and judicial systems. This has further led to revisions, legislation, and reforms. Moreover, the human rights abuse case against Taijimen has drawn international attention, serving as a litmus test for Taiwan's progress in human rights. Today marks the International Day against the misuse of justice and tax laws to prosecute human rights. It's our hope that no more case of state violence violating human rights will occur in the future. Let us work toward achieving true democracy and true freedom, ensuring that everyone enjoys the protection of human rights and access to fairness and justice. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Julia. Indeed. Thank you for your moving story of resilience and transformation. Your journey reminds us of the power of inner strength and the profound impact of Taijimen, Qigong, and Kung Fu. Our next speaker is Jing Zhang, a first-year university student majoring in information management at National Zhengzhi University. A Taijimen Dizi since the age of 3, Jing credits Taijimen for cultivating her gratitude, focus, and resilience in life. This summer, Jing deepened her connection with Taijimen's values during her time at the Pasadena Academy, experiencing the warmth and support of Taijimen. In her paper, Jing reflects on the 28-year persecution of Taijimen, despite court rulings affirming Taijimen's innocence. Jing calls for conscience, justice, and accountability from Taiwan's leaders to set a positive example for future generations. Please join me in welcoming Jing Zhang.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jing. I just started my freshman year in college, and I'm honored to participate in this online forum for the International Day Against Judicial and Tax Persecution on December 19th. I joined Taijimen when I was 3 years old. My Shifu has taught me how to calm my mind, which allows me to learn more effectively. He has also encouraged me to challenge myself and to remain composed when faced with difficulties. Through his guidance, I've learned to approach everything with a grateful heart and appreciate the people, events, and circumstances in life. I am deeply thankful for the wisdom my Shifu has imparted to me. And this year, I was fortunate to be admitted to the Information Management Department at National Zhengzhi University in Taiwan. This past summer, I spent over 2 months at the Taijimen Academy in Pasadena, a city in Southern California, United States. During this time, I got to know the Dizi there and experience the local culture. Although I didn't know the brothers and sisters there initially, they treated me with great care, making me feel the warmth of home. How is it that strangers can treat each other like family upon first meeting? I believe it's because of Shifu's selfless love for all his dizi and his teaching to treat others with sincerity. This is why, even without blood ties, the brothers and sisters in Taijimen are like family to one another. Taijimen truly feels like my second home. As I grew up in Taijimen, I began to understand the details of the false case against our Chigo Menpai. At the same time, I felt disappointed with Taiwan, a country that claimed to uphold democracy and the rule of law. In my civic studies classes at school, we were taught that criminal investigation must adhere to the principle of confidentiality to protect the rights of those involved. However, on December 19, 1996, Prosecutor Ho Kwan-ren, without verifying the facts, launched a political suppression campaign against Taijimen under the guise of a religious crackdown. He used the media to spread false reports and defame Taijimen. Shockingly, during a TV interview, Prosecutor Ho stated, "I saw a fleeting shadow in his eyes. Based on our investigative intuition, we believe he might be raising little ghosts." He even included the term raising little ghosts in the indictment. It is appalling that a prosecutor would rely on such baseless judgments and violates the principles of scientific investigation. Prosecutors are supposed to represent the public interest by upholding the Constitution and protecting the legal rights of citizens with impartiality. How could Prosecutor Ho abuse his power and fabricate false evidence and testimonies to frame innocent people, creating a human rights violation case? He's misused public authority to deceive the public. Despite his misconduct, Prosecutor Ho has not faced any punishment. Instead, he was promoted to Deputy Director of the Ministry of Justice Agency Against Corruption, and later became Director of the Ministry of Justice's Institute of Forensic Medicine. This has severely eroded public trust in the government. Even in the face of such injustice, my Shifu taught us to discern right from wrong and to persist in doing the right thing. From his teachings and example, I've learned to face challenges with courage instead of avoiding them. After many years, the Supreme Court finally ruled that Taijimen was innocent, with no tax liabilities and no violation of tax laws. All wrongfully detained individuals were compensated for unjust imprisonment, and the Control Yuan classified the case as a major human rights protection issue. However, the absurdity doesn't end there. Despite the court ruling, the tax bills stemming from the criminal case were not canceled. In a 2010 public hearing at the Legislative Yuan, the Ministry of Finance and the National Taxation Bureau promised to cancel the enforcement actions and resolve the case within 2 months, but they failed to keep their promise. In 2018, the Supreme Administrative Court ruled that Taijimen is a Qigong and martial arts organization, and the National Taxation Bureau corrected the class assessment from 5 years to 0. Yet, the 1992 tax bill remains unlawfully issued under the pretense that Taijimen is a crime school. In 2020, the Enforcement Agency of the Ministry of Justice unlawfully auctioned off Taijimen's land intended for a spiritual center and transferred it to the state. This act deceived the government, legislators, and the public, exposing the unchecked power and corruption of certain officials. The failure of the legal system has turned Taiwan's government into what feels like a predatory regime. Taiwan claims to be a country governed by the rule of law, not by individuals. Leaders must have the courage to confront these issues, fulfill their responsibilities, and urge relevant agencies to revoke the illegal tax bills and return Taijimen's land. Only by doing so can Taiwan truly uphold its value of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, and the government can regain the trust of its people. As a student at National Chengchi University, many of my friends in the law department aspire to become lawyers, judges, or prosecutors. I earnestly hope that government officials in Taiwan will act in accordance with the law and set a good example for students, making Taiwan a true democracy governed by the rule of law. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jean, for sharing your hope and vision for a better future. Your story reminds us of the importance of perseverance and staying true to one's values. Well, let's move on to our next speaker, who is Monica Xie, a senior product manager and a Taijimen Dizi. Monica joined Taijimen during a difficult period in her life, struggling with poor health and strained relationships. Through learning Kung Fu and Qigong in Taijimen, Monica regained her balance, improved her health, and strengthened family bonds. In her paper, inspired by figures like Nobel Peace Prize laureate Jerry White, Monica highlights how Taijimen has turned hardship into compassion, advocating for justice and tax reform. Monica calls for accountability from Taiwan's government to correct past mistakes and ensure such abuses do not happen again. Please join me in welcoming Monica Xie.
Hello everyone, I'm Monica. I was constantly sad as a result of my bad physical state and unbearably heavy workload. My colleague classmate recommend that I join Taijimen. After joining, I went to Taijimen every week to practice, which increased my work efficiency and helped me get promoted. I was thinking outperformed the peers. It has also enhanced the long-standing relationship with my family. We previously cannot communicate with each other effectively and happily. 1 year later, on July 13, 2007, the senior brother and sister at that time informed us there was an unjust case in Taijimen that lasted 11 years, and the Supreme Court upheld the third trial verdict. That was not guilty, no taxes were owed, and no tax collection law were violated. It was a day when the injustice was resolved. The senior brother and sister appeared to be very excited. I had no idea what happened 11 years ago then. During the annual December 19 campaign in 2016, pro-tax systems sleep at Avenue in front of the presidential plaza. I saw for the first time the overwhelming and turbulent news video from 1996. I watched Shifu being taken into custody, and I saw the excitement of the brother and sister welcoming Shifu home. I was really shocked by what I saw. I'm not sure why Shifu and Shimu continue to coach this, though such severance, unfairness, and torturedness. I'm not sure how the senior brother and sister dealt with the public perception of the society at that time. Some of the gossip and the misunderstanding even came from their own family members and friends. I asked myself, if I had begun in 1996, would I be able to firmly protect the family of Taijimen just like the senior brother and sister did? At that moment, I had no answer. Because I know how brave brother and sister were and how much willpower they had to preserve to the end when facing the false smears. Even though nobody believed it, I still can believe what I saw. Some people say that Taijimen case is a case of a political purchase, and all the methods are extremely crude and there's no due legal process at all. On the 4 days after the incident, all the properties of the Shifu and Shin were frozen one after another, regardless when the assets were acquired and whether they are related to a case or not. They were all frozen. Studios across Taiwan was also sealed temporarily. However, the Shifu that did, before the injustice was corrected, Taijimen was invited to perform on the National Day several times. It is also the only non-governmental organization that has been invited by the National Day conferences as many as 10 times and to perform 8 times. It is difficult for me to understand. After Shifu brother and sister was mute and persecuted by the prosecutor, before the injustice were corrected by the government and the society, the brother and sister went on annual summer vacation without fear of the wind, sun, and rain, rehearsing, practicing just to love the country and take action to wish the Republic of China a happy birthday and prosperity national fortune. How thoughtful it is. If it is not a great group that is well known throughout the country, how can it be on the nation's most significant birthday each year? Being invited to the celebration is iconic. When the country needs you, you are a good citizen, a good organization. But when the country wanted to punish you, you turn into a criminal. Since its founding 58 years ago, the Taijimen Qigong Academy has visited 113 countries to spread the message of love and peace across 5 continents. It has never raised outside funding. Everything is complete by Shifu and Diz at our own expenses. All performers go beyond the professional level, whether in Taiwan or abroad. Who could have guessed? Based on the brother and sister performance and genius smiles, that Taijimen were also being chased down and hunted by their own country. In 2023, at the opening event of Taijimen US Studios, Jerry White, one of the 1997 Nobel Peace Prize winner, was invited. When he was in his 20s, he accidentally touched a landmine left over from the war in Israel and lost his rare cough. It took him 6 months to relearn how to work. Many people told him that he should sue the people who caused his misfortune, but he chose to let go of hatred and turn it into not having another person like him suffer from that man. Then Jerry White was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his active effort in cleaning the landmines in Middle East. After 20 years of Taijimen cases, Shifu told us to let go the hatred and the anger in our heart and turn it into love and compassion for our country. We promote legal and tax reform, hoping to activate the conscience of officials and help the tax-affected household who hide or cry in the corner can be seen, and the mistake can be corrected. Even if we Taijimenese continue to protest outside of the Ministry of Finance and the National Tax Bureau and Administrative Office and tell the officials the truth, they still ignore us like nothing. Holding a banner, giving a lecture in the wind or rain, all the brother and sister still firmly believe in working hard to reform Taiwan legal and tax system. In my mind, all the brave brother and sister are no-name Nobel Peace Prize winners. I hereby call on Taiwan illegal officials to admit the mistake they made in the Taijimen case. Admitting the mistake is not a sign of weakness. Only by correcting the mistake can this government bully situation be solved and avoid the same case happening again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monica, for your powerful reflections on compassion and the fight for justice. Your story is a testament to the transformative power of courage and determination. Our next speaker is Elaine Chen, an accounting manager and a dedicated Taijimen 弟子. Elaine joined Taijimen during a challenging time in her life, following the loss of her father and the toll of work stress on her health. Through practicing Taijimen's Qigong and heart Gongfu, Elaine regained her physical and emotional well-being and found a renewed sense of purpose. In her paper, Elaine shares her deep disappointment with a 28-year-long persecution of Taijimen, a case that has exposed severe flaws in Taiwan's judicial and tax systems. Elaine urges Taiwan's leaders to correct these injustices and ensure a future where fairness and human rights are truly upheld. Let's welcome Elaine Chen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elaine. I am honored to have the opportunity to participate in such a meaningful forum. Cases where government abuse judicial and tax system to infringe upon human rights must be exposed and condemned. I am grateful for the establishment of December 19th as the International Day Against Judicial and Tax Persecution by State Power. This day inspires more individuals worldwide to stand up and advocate for human rights. Today, I would like to share my personal experience. Looking back when I graduated from university and entered the workforce, I was full of passion and anticipation for my career. I always aspired to perform well and earn my supervisor's recognition. However, forced with the heavy workload, I often stayed up late and worked overtime to meet the deadline. This led to frequently headache and skin allergy, requiring regularly visits to the doctor. My mood becomes irritable and uneasy, and even long hours of sleep on weekends could not fully restore my energy. At the time, I believed that as long as I dedicate my time and effort, I could achieve good work performance. Everything else seems unimportant, including my family. I look for granted that my parents should take care of themselves. This mindset changed when I received the shocking news that my father, who had always been healthy, was diagnosed with late-stage cancer. Although I put aside my work at the time to care for my father, I was unable to save his life. This event dealt a heavy blow to me, and I realized that filial piety cannot wait. I deeply regretted not spending more time with my parents. In this period, I also become acutely aware of the importance of health. Without good health, nothing else matters. With my sister's recommendation, I joined Taijimen to practice Qigong. After joining Taijimen and practice daily, the skin allergen caused by work stress disappeared. My physical stress improved, making me more efficient in my job. As a result, my work becomes much smoother. Now, my family members also practice Qigong in Taijimen with me. Together, we deeply resonate with Sifu's teaching. A calm mind gives rise to wisdom. When the body is relaxed and the mind is calm, it becomes easier to find a solution to many problems. We have gained healthy bodies and learned to face life's challenge with a positive and proactive attitude. Furthermore, Taijimen has not only helped me achieve physical health and mental balance, but also shown me the power of selfless dedication under the guidance of my Sifu, Dr. Hong Daozi. Taijimen brothers and sisters have traveled across 5 continents and 113 countries, promoting Taijimen culture and the ideas of love and peace entirely through our own effort and resources. These individuals have learned high praise and respect both domestically and internationally. As a Taijimenese, I feel a deep sense of pride and honor. However, it is deeply regrettable that while Taijimen has gained international acclaim, it has not been cherished as a cultural treasury in our own country. Taijimen has faced unfair treatment by the government for 28 years, and justice has yet to be served. Experts and scholars said that Taijimen falls case at the 228 instance of tax and legal injustice. Begin with the prosecutor manufacture false evidence and use the media to threat Taijimen Shifu of fraud and tax evasion. This was followed by search conducted by law enforcement, a criminal indictment, and the tax authority issued a legal tax bill to conservate assets. These actions has violated freedom of religions and the thought of Taijimen's members. The use of tax law and the judicial process as tools to pressure Taijimen is profoundly distressed to me as both a Diz and a Taiwan citizen. I majored in accounting and tax law in university, and I always believe that a sound tax system should be clear, logical, and just. Where right is right, wrong is wrong, but the government's tax lawfully while citizens pay taxes as required. But who could have believed that the principle of the correct tax system could be rendered meaningless? It is shocking to see the government weaponize the tax laws and the judicial system to fabricate cases and on its citizens. The malicious slander and the mistreatment of Taijimen of the government have completely shot my faith in the legal system. Taijimen is the ancient Qigong martial manpai, not a profit-oriented business. The tribute to Shifu by this is the gift and is tax-free according to law, despite the simplicity and the clarified of the fact. Uncreased officers have destroyed it, turning black into white. The Supreme Court finally ruled that Taijimen has committed no crime, no fraud, no tax evasion, and no violations. The Cultural UN also investigated and disclosed that the prosecutor and the National Tax Bureau have indeed committed mutual serious violation of human rights. The Ministry of Finance promised to cease enforcement actions and close the Taijimen case. Additionally, the NTB admits that Taijimen is not a camp school. Yet, driving by the rule of generous tax bonus and enforcement reward, the NTB and the Administrative Enforcement Agency forcibly Taijimen's scarce land and self-cultivation and confiscate its state property. To this day, the Taiwan government has neither provided an examination nor issued an apology. Such abuse of power and illegal act violate human rights are a disgrace to the nation. Taiwan's recent international ranking is democracy, freedom, and happiness may appear impressive, but they mask significant human rights issues, particularly concerning taxpayers' rights. In Taiwan, where a taxpayer own tax is often solely determined by the NTB, taxpayers frequently have to negotiate with the rulers over unreasonable tax bill, often settling by partial payment under pressure. This method of taxation is archaic and irrational, completely out of step with international standards. The NTB prioritizes bonus and performance over the agency of taxation. Rules it relates on over 9,000 administrative directives, which bypass legal review to impose unfair tax on citizens. Taiwan citizens cannot stand against the bullying of public authority within such a system. Can Taiwan still claim to be a democratic or law-abiding nation under this situation? Taiwan is a beautiful island. No matter where you go, you can feel the warmth and kindness of these people who approach life with hope. However, when the government uses public authority to violate human rights, it creates and endorses people's confidence in the nation. This is truly heartbreaking. On this, the International Day Against Judicial and Tax Persecution by State Power, I called on the Taiwan government to listen to the voice of citizens, act with conscience, acknowledge and correct its mistakes, and fully rectify the fabricated tax case against Taiwan. The government must eliminate all forms of violence against its citizens and allow Taiwan to really become a nation that upholds human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elaine, for your very moving and inspiring message. As we conclude this meaningful webinar, let us reflect on the profound insights shared today. The Taiwan case, a 28-year struggle for justice, highlights resilience, conscience, and the universal pursuit of fairness. Inspired by figures like Gandhi, Taiwan Dizi embodied nonviolence and the fight for truth and justice, guided by Dr. Hong's leadership and vision. Today, we've been reminded that while governments and courts must uphold justice, civil society ensures accountability. The Taiwan case reveals broader challenges to democracy and human rights, emphasizing the urgent need for transitional justice in democratic societies. Amid challenges, Taiwan's mission of fostering the culture of peace with love and conscience inspires hope and faith in the power of collective action. Let us take these lessons to heart, remembering that justice delayed is justice denied. Together, we can amplify the voices of the oppressed and work toward a world where dignity and justice prevail. As we close, I invite you to experience a very powerful music video that captures the essence of the Taiwan case, a story of resilience and the unyielding pursuit of justice. Thank you once again for being part of this vital conversation. Let us strive for a brighter, more just future for all.
on their promise to revoke the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Taiwan. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Where is the real government of just conscience? Where are justice and human rights? What is the truth about the Taiwan case? Taiwan Supreme Court found Taiwan not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. The National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to revoke the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Taiwan. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Where is the real government of just conscience? Where are justice and human rights? The righteous people are united with conscience to defend justice, human rights, and peace. The righteous people are united with conscience to defend justice, human rights, and peace.
In Taiwan, we at Little Winter saw at work the Taliban of the National Tax Bureau or Taliban of the Administrative Enforcement Agency. 55-year-long persecution of a peaceful spiritual movement in a democratic country such as Taiwan. The Taiwan case is internationally exemplary and important, and yet we plan to continue our campaign about it. Our voice will not be silenced until the voice of justice will speak and solve the case.